Welcome everyone to the Utah Stories Show. So today on the program, I have a very interesting, hopefully interesting show. It's called How to Be More Focused, How to Go on an Information Diet, How to Become a Better Consumer of Information. A very good question you might want to ask is, why should you listen to me about this question? And how do I know anything about this? So it's an excellent question because my background is that I was an art director for about a half a dozen years. Then I started a website and a documentary production company. Then I started a magazine, which I've been operating for the last dozen years. I've been in the field of creativity of basically media for the last 22 years. And this kind of goes out to entrepreneurs, media producers, content producers, people who are interested in basically being in the driver's seat of your own career and your own life, because a lot of what you end up doing after you graduate from high school or college is learning how to navigate the world of information and become a better consumer of information. And when you want to be more independent, you want to have your own source of income, you want to have your own business, it really becomes essential that you learn how to focus. So focus is really what helps you wake up in the morning, and lack of focus is really what causes you to sleep in. So how you gain focus is as important to an entrepreneur or creator as it really is how you keep a roof over your head. Because if you don't have focus, you're not going to be able to make strides in the direction you want to go. You're not going to be able to find a way to monetize your creations. You're not going to be able to pay your bills. So you're just going to have to go find work someplace else. So this is just a few little insights I've had, especially recently, into gaining more focus. And so obviously this is a pretty big departure from our usual local news deep dive into Utah issues that Utah Stories is usually about. But I want to do more of this because really what a big part of what I believe are Western principles, and I've gone into this before in the past, is being able to be more independent by having your own source of revenue, your own income, and to be free of working for the man. And so I want to get more into that with this podcast. So hopefully if you like this, you'll give me a thumbs up, share it with a friend, just show your appreciation, because this is a new sort of area we're delving into. So if you're like me, you probably just had one of the craziest years of your entire life. It was a year ago here in Utah, we had an earthquake right after the pandemic started. If you remember that, I drove into downtown Salt Lake right after the earthquake, and I got some footage. I'll share that with you. Excuse me. But it was just nuts. And what everybody I know who was in business struggled through was how to deal with adversity. And COVID made it very easy when I just was getting this check from the government. You know, we obviously were able to survive. But when I was getting this check from the government, nobody wanted to buy ads in a magazine. Nothing was going to drive my business really forward, or so I perceived it that way. I just found it very easy to allow my mind to wander and watch a lot of YouTube videos. And I was reading hundreds of news websites. I was researching this pandemic, trying to understand it. And I was really finding news consumption has really never been so difficult. And because there's just too much. I mean, really, the news business is clearly segregated between two political factions. And if you've not happened to be subscribed to one of the two factions, you know, a liberal Democrat or conservative Republic, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all the other ones, then you're basically politically homeless, and you're just kind of looking around trying to find a home. And I don't find that finding the truth is very easy anymore. I'm a homeless news consumer. I'm also on a totally different angle. I'm a homeless believer in Christianity, but I'm not a subscriber to any particular faith. I currently remain independent, both politically and religiously. And politically, I'd rather be on the side of truth than on the left or the right. I'm more interested actually in the truth than consensus. And it seems like the news companies don't understand that. And no party, no religion, no person, I believe nobody has a monopoly on the truth. So we need to be seekers. We need to seek and find. You seek and you find and you knock and the door shall be open to you, says Jesus. So today's podcast, we stay out of politics and I'm diving into philosophy. I'm not going to get much into religion. That was about it. But this is my philosophy for how to remain more happy, healthy, and to be in the driver's seat of your own life, how to gain more focus, and be better prepared to deal with whatever life happens to throw at you. And again, I said it's kind of geared toward creators, entrepreneurs, people who want to control their own income and their source of their own and the source of their wealth. So I think most people want to live more deliberate lives. Like you want to be able to aim for something and get to where you are aiming at. Most people want to be in charge of their lives and their destinations. But this is not something ever taught in schools. And I find that very unfortunate because I learned very quickly after I graduated that there was no handbook on how to go out and be an independent media producer after I graduated from school, nor did I ever have any class remotely related to how to go out in the world and make it. It was just like, there you are, you got your degree, go make it. And so this is what I learned. So I heard it explained once that we all have our own creed. And by creed, it's usually a statement of faith. It usually has to do with what you believe in. But there's a philosophical set of beliefs that everybody lives by. And if you don't think that you live by any sort of philosophy, you actually do. And you do because your actions speak to what your philosophical beliefs are. Even if you don't admit you have any philosophy, whatever you're out in the world doing and how you're behaving is speaking to your philosophical beliefs. And so I've decided to consciously develop my own creed. What are my beliefs? What do I believe? And just kind of write it down, and I journal and I write it down. And so, and if you don't do this, what you find you'll catch yourself doing is saying one thing, doing another. You're going to find that your words are not in alignment with your actions. And then you're going to realize you're a hypocrite. And just a little bit of advice for all the younger viewers watching. If you're taking advice from somebody and you find their actions don't align with their words, don't believe them. Like that's just got to be the first rule of deciding who to believe and who to allow mentor you. People, you have to strive to have your words and your actions align with what you're saying and what you're believing. So I've spent, as I said, years developing my creed, and my creed was pretty, I would say at one point, mainstream a bit. I was a teacher for the Presbyterian Church for 5 years, but then I found my creed no longer fit within the confines of the Nicene Creed or Apostles' Creed or any of the other kind of generic creeds. I realized that if I kept going to church and when I was teaching, I'd be a hypocrite. So I stopped attending. And I've always maintained my belief in the core tenets of Christianity, Christian philosophy, which is different than the Christian religion. And the Christian philosophy, I think it's just phenomenal, and it's not taught well anymore today because it goes in alignment with this idea you have to take on this set of beliefs when you don't really have to adopt the Christian philosophy. And I'll hope to share more of that with you at a later episode or a later time. But in terms of my own philosophical life principles, I read 2 recent books that I want to share with you, and that have helped guide me in my ability to get more focused and remain more focused. And as I was realizing I was losing my focus during the middle of COVID. So just to back up a little bit, I believed for a while that in the new information economy and the knowledge age in the 21st century, we have a lot of new challenges that are occurring that aren't even close to the challenges our ancestors had, and we don't have a new set of methods for navigating this new world we find ourselves in. For example, you used to go to a library, you'd look up using the Dewey Decimal System. Say you had a question or a research project, you get a big stack of books. You bring those books to your desk, you try to take notes on the books, you'd read them. I did a lot of reports before there was the internet. And today, it's like you put one thing in Google, you get a million results, and it's like trying to sip through a fire hose to gain insight into one particular topic. There is just too much out there. And the challenges that aren't being addressed is that we absolutely live in an information overloaded society. And I think we're always constantly distracted. Too many of us are constantly unfocused and distracted. And I speak for myself mostly. So if you're an independent-minded person, you're probably like me and you're making attempts to always be learning. I mean, we always have to be progressing and learning. And to do this effectively, we must sift through a mountain of content to obtain the useful insight. And if you're a creator, an artist, or a producer, it's extremely difficult to decide who to believe, what to believe, who to follow, who to listen to. So to my fellow creators, I offer this bit of advice. The most difficult challenge will be always to remain focused. Because if you are creative, then you are also very likely a very open person. You're very open-minded. And openness is a trait that allows creators to easily get distracted. And it's by allowing this distraction that you'll get some of your greatest insights, certainly. But to be an effective creator in any medium, whether it's print, visual, media, or you're a product maker, you're doing anything, we need to find our lane. That's my number one principle I want to share with you. Find your lane, get in that lane, realize you only have so much bandwidth, and you need to keep in that lane, keep your attention focused there, not go off in too many other directions. Otherwise, you cannot maintain a level of focus that's going to make you competitive in the world. So when you find your lane and you stay in your lane, you'll find you're thriving and things happen easily and more naturally. So define that lane and don't go in a lane that doesn't belong to you. For example, if you want to sell your awesome beef jerky online, don't build your own website. I mean, just try to find a decent website designer with good references, somebody who's got a good eye. If you're going to make your own soap or your own violins, don't design your own logo. Find a designer to do it for you. Focus on what you do best. Don't focus on everything. Focus on what you do best. Stay in your lane. So a big part of creating is to learn what we need to know to thrive and be at our best. And it's sad that in terms of art, music, media, journalism, higher education is doing a very poor job at helping students navigate the world of information and knowledge. They're not helping you with your continuous learning that has to occur if you're going to stay competitive in your chosen field. So, and public schools are just dismal. They just move way too slow. And so along these lines, I've got a little more good information I found. I heard a really brilliant statement listening to a book that I actually didn't imagine myself wanting to listen to, but I listened to him on another podcast. I found I really liked what he had to say, but this was Mathew McConaughey's biography called Green Lights, where he said something really simple, but if you think about it, there's a lot of depth to this statement. Be more involved and less impressed. And what he means by it is he describes it this way. The sooner that we become less impressed with our lives, with our accomplishments, with our career, with whatever that prospect it is in front of us, the sooner we become less impressed and more involved with these things, the sooner we get a whole lot better at doing them. So stop being so impressed with your achievements, your accomplishments, your output. Stay involved in it. And it's so easy to get impressed with other things today. We get impressed with the shiny new thing. We get impressed with a person. We get impressed with a new idea that's going to save our business. We get impressed with something we can now afford to buy. Maybe now we can afford to buy a Tesla or a home or a boat or an RV, and we're so impressed. And then we think, finally, I've made it. But there is no joy that we gain from these things that we're impressed by. There's only temporal happiness, and there's a temporal distraction from any sufferings we might have, but there's no lasting joy from these things. That is not to say we shouldn't become renunciates and never buy anything we want to buy, but it's important to know that there's no thing that is going to bring us joy. I see that sometimes is a trap a lot of people fall into. Joy comes from involvement. Joy is from finding that several hours have just floated away because we were so involved in the task at hand. Joy is finding your flow state every day. There's no real joy in being impressed with ourselves, our accomplishments, or just inflating our ego. That's fleeting happiness. But how do we gain lasting joy? I believe we need to be constantly striving toward reaching our greater sense of self through our work. And if it means going back a few steps to get back to another place where you should be working, if you feel like you're in the wrong job, the wrong career, the wrong profession, I've done that, and it's not impossible, and you can absolutely do it. You just have to maintain your state of awareness. You have to maintain your constant learning, and you have to have a path, and you have to have aims and goals, and that's really how we do it. And so self-actualization is the concept I've learned early in life, where you basically realize that you want to become a greater, better version of yourself, and you need to strive to become that. But it's easier said than done, and information gathering and research is extremely difficult. It feels, like I said, like taking a sip from a fire hose, trying to gain new information. So how do you do it? How do you find the right information? I really believed it was by listening to tons of podcasts, bombarding myself with just all the right people and the right nuggets of wisdom. And I actually found the opposite to be true. Go on an information diet. That is a really great piece of advice I found in a book that I had put aside, and I saw the title of it. I thought, no way am I going to read this. This is stupid. It's called The 4-Hour Workweek. And I was like, I don't care to have a 4-hour work week. I like to work hard. I like people who work hard. And I thought it was kind of like a get-rich-quick book. But it is absolutely not that. It's by a guy named Tim Ferriss. And he's kind of a well-known podcaster too. And what I learned from him by listening to the book is it's the art of extreme simplification. It's about simplifying, outsourcing, delegating, and measuring so that your business efforts as an owner can be more optimized, so you can push the needle more with what you're really good at and your actual effectiveness and productivity. So by doing this, we can actually spend more time enjoying doing more of the things that fulfill us. And so Ferriss demonstrates that this is our time and attention that are our most precious commodities. And we have to absolutely value our time and attention. So an information diet is the idea that really cuts to the heart of the problem. It's like we only have so much attention, we only have so much brain capacity. If we're suffering from information overload, we're taking all this stuff in, but it doesn't seem to be making any difference. And that's really true in my life. I mean, I found that I really enjoy about 8 podcasts. I found like 8 that I really like. Every week there's a new episode. I can't possibly listen to all 8 of them. I currently should be reading about 20 books. I need to pare it down to like the 2 that I most want to be, reading. I'm normally reading about 3 books at the same time, but I need to read less. And I need to be shutting off podcasts, shutting off music, shutting off all this input. And I need to not be afraid that I'm missing out on the best shows, the best podcasts, the best music. The problem is if I were able to listen, watch, and read everything, I wouldn't be happier. I realize this. Actually, I found that I would become miserable. You're miserable because it's just too much. It's information overload. And a major symptom of information overload is the noise overtakes the signal. So what do I mean by this? So when we're constantly listening, watching, and bombarding the senses, we are making a choice to introduce noise. So noise is good if we can actually glean the great information and use it in our lives. But let's face it, at 90% of what we watch or listen to, it's noise without relevancy or usefulness. And all this noise weakens our vital signal. And what do I mean by vital signal? Our vital signal is our own original thoughts, our own ideas, our own insights. And so few people, it seems today, have so few original ideas, original insights, and original style. What we actually need to do is it's time to process, connect dots, to remember and defragment our internal hard drives so we can silence our minds, so we can hear our inner wellspring of what it's telling us, what we should be doing. So just how do you tap into your inner wellspring? How do you hear your vital signal? I'm sorry, but I just can't tell you. I know that silence is a key component to it. A lot of people get a lot of insight from meditation, from breathing exercises, from yoga. For me personally, I get it from visiting the mountains. The more time I spend in nature, it seems the more I'm actually on top of everything that I need to do and the better ideas I get. When I'm just with my dogs sitting in nature, the silence of the forest and the sounds that the forest make, they totally rejuvenate me. And if you follow us on Instagram, I share a ton of photos with me and my dogs up in the mountains, up as far as we can go in solitude. And I try to go to the places where there are fewer people. And I've just learned over the past year, it's way more effective to go and only listen to the sounds. Where I used to go there, I'd listen to a podcast about half the time. Now I almost never listen to anything. And you begin to be able to tap in to your own inner wellspring and what you actually want and what you actually need for your self-actualization process, your hero's journey. And so Mr. Ferriss recommends not checking your email more than 2 times per day, not answering the phone except for a small window during the day, not checking anything related to social media because that's poison. And I absolutely believe it's poison to go be checking social media all the time, because all of these things are distractions and they create noise. And if you're not finding you're able to concentrate well, it's because of all this noise. You're bombarding yourself with noise and you need to reduce it. So the added reactionary interferences increase the interference and noise in our thinking and cause us to become less effective thinkers. We need to become more effective at thinking. Okay, so the last thing I want to touch on is paying attention to your attention. And this is where I differ with Mr. Ferriss. He says, cut meetings short, don't chit-chat, don't let people interfere with your solitude. I actually believe as a reporter, I don't like chit-chatting. I mean, nobody does, but I love meeting new people. I love going into a bar, finding some guy and just striking up a conversation, or going into a park, finding somebody, just talking to that person. We've been putting on our Instagram some of the homeless people I've met over the years. Some of the most fascinating people you will find by opening yourself up to the serendipitous events and meetings that just pay amazing dividends. I mean, just go out and talk to people, especially through COVID. It was so difficult. I think that's why I felt so personally isolated for so long, is I wasn't meeting new people. All our meetings were Zoom meetings, and I couldn't stand that. And I love letting time go. Just let time go and let chance occurrence and happenstance just take over. And some of the most amazing things and most amazing stories have come to our magazine just by doing that. I could write just a huge chapter on what the stories are that we found by doing that. But being a Nazi with your time and your precious time, obviously you need to do that for periods during the day, but there's got to be periods during your day where you're just absolutely open to the universe and whatever it has to present to you. I mean, just an example, I told my wife this morning, man, I just really need to find somebody to come and aerate our lawn. Our lawn looks like crap. I don't want to fertilize it. I'm running with my dogs. There's a guy. My dog's sniffing this guy. And then I look on the side of his truck. It says aeration. I was like, oh, hey, can you come and aerate my lawn? Oh, I could do it right now. Yeah, come right over. The guy aerated my lawn. Not that that's the best example, but it's like you open yourself up to the universe and some amazing things happen. You find you meet the right people, you have the right chance occurrences. Everything wants to be connected in our universe, and that's kind of how it works. So I can see that I'm starting to go long. I don't want this podcast to be too long, but I wanted to go into the ideas that spark creativity. You can never neglect those ideas. I mean, just the example, going back to Christianity, why would Christ go into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights and fast? Was it so he could just be miserable and feel pain and suffering? No, it's because he needed to tap in to that inner wellspring, and that was the mechanism. That is the mechanism for doing it. Silence, peace, solitude, nature. Go do it. Seriously, it works. When we are an empty cup, we are filled. When we are a full cup, there's nothing to fill, and it doesn't work. So I'll leave you with the Beatitude. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. So my philosophy is that we need to tune out of the world periodically, turn off all our devices, turn off all distractions, tune out of your social media, or delete your social media if you can. And by doing so, be less impressed and be more involved, be more focused. You'll amplify your own signal. You'll decrease noise, and by doing, you will find there are all sorts of muses who want to whisper great ideas into your ear, and there are all sorts of ideas that want to reveal themselves to you. So there are gods that want to inhabit you, and everybody has a special purpose in this world. I believe that strongly. You only need to listen. Okay, thanks so much for watching this episode of the Utah Stories Show. My name's Rich Markosian. Again, if you like this, please give it a thumbs up or go to utahstories.com and subscribe to this show. Also, if you want to support the show, go visit our sponsors. Our sponsors are Canyon Meadows Grass-Fed Beef, CMR Beef /Utah Stories, so that they know that we sent you. Incredible, fantastic, delicious, environmentally friendly grass-fed beef is what they produce. I've been eating their beef for years. I absolutely love it. Our other sponsor is Green Bikes. Green Bikes is a bike share sponsorship or partnership between Select Health, UTA, and the Green Bike organization in order to get more people on bikes and to clean our air and to create transit hubs where people can borrow bikes throughout the city. Go visit them at slcbikeshare.org. And with that, thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.